Phil, if they'd offered you back in August to get to the last game, knowing if you win it, you win the league, you'd probably have bitten my hand off, wouldn't you?
Probably August, then round about the Christmas time, then probably January and February, and then all of a sudden March and April. Wow, been great months, haven't it? And absolutely fantastic months, to tell you the truth. And again, all down to the players. But I think any manager would probably take that. You know, you win one game, regardless of who it's against, whether it's home, whether it's away, it doesn't matter. You know, but there's such a big story behind it all. You know, you go to Southport, last game of the season. How many people were earmarking going to Southport first and foremost? How many people were thinking it was going to be playoffs? How many were thinking we're never going to win the title? And then all of a sudden we get a chance to win the title, and it's just amazing. It's just, football's fantastic. It really is, and it's just been a great season. It really has. Regardless of what happens on Saturday, it doesn't matter. But it does at the same time. You know, we've got to win one game of football and be crowned champions, and that in itself, just saying the word, you know, is fantastic. You know, forget about the promotion, it's champions. But that's the rules, you know, in this division. The champions get promoted, and then the rest have got to fight out a playoff system and the scraps, as it were, you know. But you know, it's been a remarkable season, a great achievement so far to be where we're at. But yes, I agree with you. Given back in August, if somebody said one game, win the game, Southport away, doesn't matter where they are in the league, Southport away, would you take it? The answer is yes.
And you go into this game, obviously with momentum behind you from the run that you've been on, but after two, I would guess, probably two very different performances really. You go to Rushall and you had to grind one out there to a degree, and then you put Hereford away in some style here.
I think that's been the characteristic of the team, you know. The game at Rushall was strange, you know. It highlighted for me in the first half when one of our most consistent players, Caleb Richards, is being told that it's AstroTurf, so it's a slick pitch, it's a passing pitch. And Macca's screaming blue murder on Saturday before the game, and I'm screaming blue murder at Droitwich Spa on the Thursday. Not screaming blue murder, but trying to encourage the players to play two-touch. But when an opposition team doesn't come after you, it's difficult to play two-touch. You need to step into the space, and maybe the third or the fourth touch is going to be the key pass. But we were playing two-touch and we weren't really getting anywhere with it. And then all of a sudden, the magician, who's come up with so many important goals, but I think that's probably one of the most important goals of the season, just before half time, just settled us down. It's probably the story of Amari's season, the goal that goes in, hits his back, he's not even facing the goalkeeper. There's one in the Championship exactly the same, on the same day, and that's given. And Premier League referees and Championship referees are supposed to be of a higher standard, and that's given. And Amari's, to his credit, has been denied yet again. But then, you know, his sidekick, his strike partner, Ashley Hemmond, steps up to the plate just before half time and absolutely settles everybody down. The second goal gives us a little bit of breathing space, and we look in control. And then their striker pops up with a goal to make it a little bit more exciting, make it a little bit more interesting. But I'd rather it be 2-0 than 2-1 in any game of football. Hopefully, come Sunday, I hope it's not a 2-1 coming to the last 5 or 6 minutes of the game. But I think, again, I'm going back to the players. Have showed tremendous credit to them, showed a tremendous sort of propensity to the word pressure, and they've embraced it, and it's been fantastic to see the changing room develop this season with the word pressure attached to it every time, and questioned, and criticised, and praised, and we know what it all sounds like. We know what it tastes like, but that's part and parcel of football, you know. So it's been the tale of the whole season. And down to 90 minutes. But again, would you take a 1-0, a grind, and a performance like Rushall Olympics, or will you take a 5-1 against Hereford? The 5-1 against Hereford was a remarkable game of football for me, because I've came to this level and I didn't expect the quality that I've witnessed from a lot of teams, to be fair. And we know Hereford's a local derby. We know there's a lot of pressure and there's a lot of pride in the performance. They turned up in their numbers, we turned up in our numbers, and provided a spectacle, in my opinion, certainly for the home supporters, not so much for the Hereford supporters. But at 2-1, I thought, wow, this is going to go the journey, you know, this could go the distance. And Christian Dibble was questioned about the goal that he conceded, but if you just look at his performance minutes before, he pulls off an absolute world-class save. Out of the top corner, the guy, I think it was the striker for Hereford, looks bemused how he's made the save, and that was literally before the one he conceded. And he comes in at half time and apologises. I mean, dear me, 25 clean sheets and he's apologising for a goal that's scored from 40 yards and nobody was expecting it. But hey ho, it made it interesting at half time. It made one or two people sit up and take notice, and more importantly, made our team focus. And then we came out the second half and demolished them. But again, I'm talking about a marker 5-1 against local rivals who are, you know, in the hunt for the playoffs. That was a hell of a statement. But we've got to keep, you know, we've got one more to go, and we've got to bring that kind of mentality with us.
How much of it now is about keeping your collective nerve, really, because you've clearly got the ability within the squad?
It is about collective nerve. We're travelling, we're doing everything right. We trained today, beautiful sunshine outside, as you witnessed. We trained at Cosy. The surface was back to the start of the season. It's great how you go through the seasons. It's fantastic. You know, you come in the summertime, you put sweat and blood into a pre-season, and there's always grass on the pitch and everything's lovely and crisp and rolling free and this, that and the other. Sun's on your back and you feel like being a footballer. Then all of a sudden winter comes along and autumn comes along and you name it. It's great, the conditions in England. It's a fantastic place to play football. And then you come through all of that and you're back to the summer. It's glorious sunshine today. Do we want this kind of weather on Saturday? Why not? You know, I'd like to, if we're going to win something, I'd like to win it in the sunshine. It's a nice place to be. But we've got to have our focus about it, you know. So we're travelling up tomorrow. We're training at a Premier League training ground, if truth be known, and we'll prepare properly, get the boys in their bed, and final team talk will be probably about 1 o'clock, and then let them get on with it. You've spoken to Amari. Some of the words he's been coming out with in the changing room, some of the words that have been coming out with some of the really experienced lads have been priceless, you know, and my job's done. I can take a step back, you know, when you know players like Amari Morgan-Smith are going to cross the white line and try and win a game of football with the focus and the mentality that he's had all season. My job's in good hands, I think.
Up until about the last 3 weeks, Southport would probably been looking nervously over their shoulders towards the bottom four, really. Obviously, the relegation issues were sorted a couple of weeks back now.
Yeah.
So they've had no pressure now for a couple of weeks. They're obviously not going to go up, and they're clearly not going to go down. So how do you think that their mentality will be approaching this? Because there's been no pressure now for a while.
I really can't answer that, but at the same time, I was thinking about Jim Bentley when he was managing Southport when they came here, and he was up against it, and I know Jim very well. He's a feisty character, he's a fighter. He got relieved of his duties, and then somebody was given the role, and as always there was manager bounce, and he breathed a bit of life into the team, and they won a few games, and then all of a sudden the job becomes real, you know, becomes not this new manager bounce scenario, which is a misnomer as far as I'm concerned. It doesn't actually exist, but it's just players stepping up to the plate and showing people what they're capable of. Consistency has been the key for our season, if truth be known. So when questions have been asked of our players, they've stepped up to the plate every time. But we've got one more to go, and it's against a team who I've no idea how they'll play. System-wise, yes, but individually, are they looking for contracts? Are they looking to finish on a high in front of the home crowd? Well, I've got news for you. We've probably got the majority of the crowd, you know. It's going to be 1,400 of our fans travelling, plus some more outside, I would imagine, that are coming hoping to get tickets on the day, which I don't think they will. But at the same time, it's going to feel like a home fixture. You know, we've done it on 2 or 3 occasions this year, and it's been fantastic. The away support's been fabulous. The home support turned up on Monday against Hereford, but the away support is just, you know, when you're putting miles on the clock and you're not getting back till 2-3 o'clock in the morning, that's the proper supporters that have done the hard miles, and they're there on Saturday with us, and we'll hopefully give them what they've travelled so far this season. We'll give them what they've set out to achieve, which is promotion. But again, it's one big push. We want their support. We want them to get behind the boys. I think some of the players will be looking around thinking that the ball's coming in from a Southport end, and all of a sudden it's one of the supporters in red and white handing them the ball. You know, they'll be all over the place, and hopefully they'll conduct themselves in the manner that we've been accustomed to. No more flares, please. We don't want any games going beyond 5 o'clock. We just want to get it done 10 to 5 and hopefully have a glass of champagne after the game.
I know, obviously, it's very much in your own hands. That's all you're focused on. But if there are any neutrals around, it's a terrific end of the season in this league, really, because obviously Brackley have got Farsley Celtic at home. We're taking nothing away from Farsley, but they've also had a wretched season. You put your mortgage almost on Brackley winning that one. could do with Hereford doing you a favour really against Scunthorpe. They've got to win to have any chance of getting into the playoffs. So there's loads riding on lots of games.
It's brilliant, Trev. It's been a really great season. I think probably the interviews that we've been doing, we've been predicting a hell of a last game scenario. And did I think it was going to be this way, as in us in first position? I wasn't quite sure. But I knew, the form that we're in and the life that this changing room was breathing in everybody in Kidderminster. I knew we'd given ourselves a chance, in the last 2 months, 3 months maybe. But with that in mind, the scenario is quite simple, as we well know. But I thought it was probably going to be 5 or 6 going to be involved in the title hunt. There's 3 on the final day, and there's going to be 2 or 3 involved in the scrap for 6th or 7th. But the same applies in most of the divisions. I've just done a little podcast for the BBC recently, and if you look in the championship, it's crazy. Okay, the promotion's been decided on the top 2, but the playoffs are just a fantastic invention. The playoffs. I know it's extending the season by 2, 3, 4 weeks sometimes, and everybody just wants to go on holiday. They've had enough of football. But if you're involved in these playoffs, you want more football. You want it to finish on a high, and that's what we're all trying to do. So it's a case of bringing it on. Bring your A game to the party, both supporters and players. And hopefully the result will take care of itself.
Do you think the experience of having played in the National League last season, albeit in a relegation fight, you've had that experience within the squad, the bulk of the squad were involved in that. Has that stood you in good stead for when the goings got tough over the last few weeks?
I think so. There was a lot to be said about the retaining list at the end of last season because of the failings of the team, the failings of certain individuals. But I had to go with my gut instinct, and players who have done it at this level have done it again at this level, and more so, if truth be known. Ashley Hemmings getting 33 goals and all the plaudits of supporters player of the year, you name it, he's been named it. Retaining him in a team that got relegated, I had to think long and hard about that. Thank God I did. Same with Damari Morgan-Smith, but losing the skipper, he might have a point to prove. If you're talking about Shane Byrne going to Brackley, he'll have a big point to prove. But we've got to make sure that we put Brackley and Shane Byrne in that place, and the only way to do that is win on Saturday. I'm not going to use that as motivation by any stretch of the imagination. I've got massive respect for the club and for Shane in particular, but we just couldn't afford him. He left on a bit of a sad note, to tell you the truth, complaining about the finances at the football club. That's business, and the business of rebuilding has gone quite well. I've just been talking to a couple of new players, Kyle Morrison for one, just talking to him about how we played and how we looked in the first 4 or 5 games. If you go back to Alex Penny and Paul Downing with Luke Summerfield in front of them, Malik Canigan in the middle of the park, all of these things were part and parcel of a full season. And I hope people don't forget that. I've invited Malik to the last game of the season because I want to see him there. He deserves a medal. If we can get him a medal, I'll give him a medal. Because if you've played 10 games, probably more, I would imagine, and he's played in a team that had identity at the start of the season. So I think, Trev, that's important, that we don't forget the people that have contributed this season. But most importantly, it's about the 11 who start on Saturday and getting them to contribute yet again to a good performance. But as I've always said, the subs have got to be ready. If they're going to be the ones that come off the bench and make the impact, who knows? One of them haven't been named in the starting 11 could end up being the hero.
Fitness-wise for the squads, I should imagine not too many carrying niggles ahead of this one.
No, we had a few on the training ground today. It was great. Like I say, with the sunshine, even Charlie Lutz was pushing for a place on the bench, as it were. And unfortunately, it's probably a bridge too far for him. But no new injuries, nothing from the game, apart from Joe Fawkes. Unfortunately, Joe. He's got a little bit of a problem with his ankle, like a reoccurrence of the injury that he got from Oxford. And probably, if I know Joe, it's down to the fact that he was pushing a little bit too hard for to get back, because he wanted to be part of it, and there's nothing wrong with that. If I'm going to blame him for pushing to try and get a place back in this team, it's nothing I'm going to blame him for. It's something that I'm going to admire and nurture and hopefully use again next season.
Well, good luck. Hope it goes really well for you on Saturday. Last question. I preface this question by saying I hope this is academic and it doesn't come to this at all. if you end up having to go through the playoffs, where do you stand with your loan players? Because obviously you've got 2 or 3 in on loan. Are they able to play in the playoffs? How does that work?
Good question. I've not even thought about it. I really will cross that bridge at 5 o'clock on Saturday. As far as I'm concerned, it's about another game, one more game, and let's get it done for the supporters.
Fair enough. Thank you.
You touched on the importance of the focus on the 90 minutes on Saturday, which is important, isn't it? Because of course, promotion, title, anything like that, nothing like that is secure without actually going and winning a game. And I guess that has a way of kind of crystallising the mind, doesn't it?
It's funny, Matty, because I remember Southend in particular. You know, we equalised in the 126th minute of a playoff final, and then won it on penalties against Wickham. Joe Pickett goal, I can remember it vividly. You know, I went through 10 sets of legs. Just fate was in our hands at that time. So you can't get any later than that. So it stops you from planning and all the things that you want to get done. But it is one of them where you're coming into the last game of the season, and you just want people to know how finite the detail of winning a game of football is, because that's what it comes down to. You know, the manager's got to get the team selection right. He's got to get the opposition's tactics right. He's got to get the mindset and the preparation of that mindset. He's got to prepare his players properly, and we're trying to do everything as professional as we possibly can. But again, you're in the lap of the gods. That's the beauty of the game of football that we play. It's just a fabulous season that we've been involved in. I made contact, and I've been trying to make contact with Oxlade Chamberlain, who's on loan to Truro, or at least was on loan to Truro, etc., where he was playing for us in pre-season. And I think about that, and then they're top of the league, but you look at their league title, 2 teams on 84 points, 2 teams on 83 points, or whatever it is. There's a point separating 4 teams. And when it comes down to that, it's just a fantastic season for the National League North and South. National League, I had Ben Coker on the phone. Barnett, left back, played him last game of last season, phoning us up, saying we only want to win one, we only need one to win. He knows exactly what we want to win. But straight away he's talking about Dave Worrell, what a contribution he's made. So all of these things are quite uncannily falling into place, and unfortunately I can't control the fateful game, which is the last game of the season. Anything can happen. I'm just hoping and praying that the supporters are going to be rewarded with what support they have given us, with a good performance and more importantly 3 points.
And it is an experienced group of players that we've got, of course, but if you've needed any reminding of the dangers of playing a team who on paper might not have too much to play for, you won't need to go back about 6 days. I mean, we had that on Friday. It could be the same again.
Against Rushall, exactly. Tony Philliskirk I spoke to during the week. I've been picking people's brains on, you know, Southport's preparation. What's it going to be like? What's the new manager like? Is there a change in style of football? All of them things I've got to be prepared for, you know. But Tony has his son playing centre midfield. Tony was a striker at Bolton with me, and he's been involved in the game since year dot, to tell you the truth. He's a great coach, great football educator, coach educator, and he's got his son playing centre midfield, who is looking for a contract. He's one of them. That in itself raises people's game, so it's not going to be easy by any stretch of the imagination. Forget about the league table now. This is a 1-game league table, and it's almost like a final, a cup final. If we win the cup final, we win the cup, of course. That's normal procedure. But I've been trying to find out, you know, what is going to come out of their change room. Who knows? All I can do is control my controllables, which is my change room, and making sure that we are prepared for this game and whatever comes our way.